Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm in Michigan.
Hi, I'm Randall. I'm here in Texas. Today, on our discussion, we're going to talk about Rian Johnson's latest movie, Knives Out. It's a mystery movie, and it's his follow-up to Star Wars The Last Jedi. Matt, what did you think of the movie?
It's definitely better than Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I'll say that. No, I
Okay.
mean,
No,
I
you're
you
right.
know,
You're right. You're right.
I
This is what I was
I
expecting.
I liked the movie. It was I don't know. You go. It's a good movie for certain people. I mean, movies they're supposed to entertain. You're supposed to have a good time. I found the movie humorous and stuff, so I would say it was a good movie.
Okay. Number one, I agree that it's better than The Last Jedi. I know that's kind of kicking a dead horse. This is what I was hoping for from something from Rian Johnson for The Last Jedi, though. He had done Brick and he had done Looper, which were both really interesting, different movies. And now he's got Knives Out, and Knives Out is a really interesting, different movie. Like I said, it's a mystery, and I really enjoyed that. So if you had to say something about like the characters and the actor portrayals, do you think that that was all really, really well done?
I thought they're good. I think it was well acted. Daniel Craig, I think he is going to be hit or miss with some people, especially on how he acts. He's a British actor, and he's definitely not acting as a British person in this movie. So it's going to be interesting. Some people it's going to work for, some people it's not going to work for.
So I agree. For the most part, the acting was really, really well done. There's only one character that I didn't like that much, and that was the younger son of one of it'd be the grandson of the patriarch, basically of the family. He's always on his phone the entire time. I didn't think that he was particularly great in this. But as far as Daniel Craig goes, for me, the Kentucky accent that he's trying to do doesn't really work for me personally, and I agree that it's some people it will work for, some people it won't. I really liked Daniel Craig's southern accent, which was from Logan Lucky. That accent really came out much more natural. This one he's kind of chewing on a little bit. He's trying really hard, and I appreciate that he's trying it really hard. But I agree with you. It doesn't quite come out all right all the time, and I really liked what he did in Logan Lucky as compared to this.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up too, because I completely forgot about the Logan Lucky thing, and I totally agree with you. I agree. I think the Logan Lucky one was more believable for me as a character, not Daniel Craig, than this was for Daniel Craig. Well, instead of going on what we didn't like, what of the actors stuff, which one do you think was your favorite?
All right, so without a doubt, and I loved it, was Anna de Armas. When you watch the trailers for this movie, when you watch the promotional footage for this movie, they hit really big on, hey, we have Chris Evans, we have, Daniel Craig, we have Jamie Lee Curtis, etc., etc. And then you get into the movie, and you have this not quite as big name actress in a pretty prominent role in the movie, Anna de Armas, who was recently in Blade Runner 2049, and she's going to be in 2020's Daniel Craig James Bond movie as well. Um, Her performance was fantastic. I loved that, and it came out of you didn't know it was coming, which was really good, especially if you watch just the trailers.
One of the my favorite characters, I would say, isn't even a big character, is a very minor character, which had a role later in the movie. Kind of someone in the background, someone you're not expect or whatever. I actually liked the grandma or the
Yes,
victim
the
or whatever you want to say,
the
the
great
patriarch.
grandmother.
The
Yep.
the grandma, man, she was my favorite, and she was such a minor, character in this movie. But I think it kind of goes with the tone of the movie. If you're looking for something like to laugh at, because we've had a lot of these different mysteries, movies and stuff. One of the most recent ones we had Murder on the Oriental Express. Again, another remake of that movie. Those I think are a little bit more serious. This movie I don't think it takes itself nearly that seriously, and she is a character which isn't really like a serious character, and I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up Murder on the Orient Express, because the actor Daniel Craig says that he took a lot from that, from the Agatha Christie kind of mystery, and that's kind of what Rian Johnson's going for, this Agatha Christie feel to this mystery movie. And I think for the most part, he definitely has it, although there's some things that we really can't talk about very well unless we get into spoilers. But one of the points that I want to get into is that I like that this movie has an ending and potential for sequels without caring about it. It's not a movie like Alita where we're going to make this with the specific intention of having sequels. They made a good movie, and they have this character with Daniel Craig's character who could make other movies, much like at the end of Murder on the Orient Express, like they want to do with the Hercule Kenneth Branagh character. Okay, maybe we take him and we go do something else with it. This movie has a similar feel to that, so I really like that. It's a good movie, it has an ending, and maybe we see the character in the future in a completely different setting.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think if you do mystery like that with Daniel Craig, like I said, it'd be a completely different movie. And maybe that's what works. Maybe you keep Daniel Craig as not like the main character, but as that other character or whatever, and you have, like I said, it'd be nice to be a different new film each time.
So I want to go through a couple of the other positives that I really liked about the movie. I really liked in the very beginning how they just get on with the characters. Here's the characters. Here's where they are in the story. They do the character introductions with the interviews, and you find out, okay, this is who Jamie Lee Curtis is playing. Okay, this is who Michael Shannon's playing. Okay, this is who Don Johnson's playing. Really quickly, and where they are, and you get to motives of any individual character. I liked that. They just get it out of the way really quickly. A lot of movies don't do that. They drag on and they try to do character introductions later. I want to know who my characters are. I want to know what their stakes are in it, and then tell me my story.
I'll add on that a little bit more on that, too. What I liked about 2 is even though it tells you all of it, it doesn't tell you all in a straightforward way. It's not like the character is saying, like, hey, this is who I am, this is my role in my family. It's kind of like, here's who I want you to think who I am and what my role in this family is. And then you see pretty quickly what their actual role is in the family and stuff,
Yes.
what other people in the family actually think of them. So I like that too, how the movie kind of plays that, and you not just take it like, hey, you're watching this and this is what really happened. It's because as they ask the next person, the exact same timing or whatever is framed completely different. So it's really good to keep that in mind too. It's like, oh, this is my perspective, or this is what I want you to think how things really are.
Another real interesting thing, talking about just the storyline and the progression of how it's told, is you get to a point in some movies where there's just little exposition crumbs. In this one, there's an exposition dump. Not that far into the movie, much earlier than I thought, but there's an exposition dump, and it's entertaining. I really like the way that goes between Christopher Plummer and Ana de Armas. They tell the itty-bitty, gritty details of what's happened at a time that you don't expect, but they keep it entertaining instead of kind of just a boring, oh, we have to get this done.
Yeah, it definitely, not to really get into spoilers or whatever, a lot of the mystery in this isn't about necessarily what happened, but kind of like why, I would say, and other things going on.
Yeah. So from now on, we're going to be talking spoilers. So, spoiler alert. Don't watch this if you haven't seen the movie, unless it's like a year later and you don't care and you just want to watch it.
Or go right away and go see this movie,
Or
and
go
then
right away.
come back and watch this.
Yes, or do that, because this is definitely a movie that you should see. I think that your viewing experience in theaters will be better than your viewing experience at home due to the level of detail. Go see this movie in theaters. I think it's worth your money. Now, that being said, spoilers. Did you guess what happened?
So big thing is, I mean, the movie kind of tells you what happened. So like I said, I wasn't always guessing like, oh well, did something else happen? The movie definitely made it so it's like, hey, this person can't lie, and they made that a big part of the film. So at least that was always going to be the main character's representation, of what she saw happened and everything. I will say there was a bunch of elements that were trying to make you like think that I guessed as it was happening. Especially at the very end with Chris Evans trying to stab Anna. I mean, it was always going to be a movie prop knife because they telegraphed it earlier in the film.
So that's the thing, though. I really like in this film how Rian Johnson takes the time as the writer and director to set up things that happen later. Christopher Plummer's character, who's the person who had the misfortune, the death, like you said, he telegraphs it. He goes, getting to the point where my family can't even tell the difference between a real knife and a prop knife. And then that comes around later. When Jamie Lee Curtis's character, like right, one of the second scenes or something like that, she says, well, we found a way to communicate. We always had to find a special way to communicate with Dad, and that is like the last or second to last scene almost of, oh, he uses invisible ink when he writes to his daughter. It's a game. It was great.
I'm trying to think what it's called, like movie rule. I think it's called the Kalashnikov or whatever. If something is directly referenced in a movie, for a good film, it's going to have some meaning. Like, things don't just randomly, you don't just mention random things and then don't go back to it later in the film. So if you know that, then you know that it's going to be, something later on. You just have to see, okay, how is this going to play in a little bit? So for me, that kind of, I mean, if that last moment with Chris Evans trying to stab Anna, if that's meant for, like, tension, I feel at one point knowing that it took away the tension from that scene. But at the same time, too, it's like, I mean, they're not gonna, kill her off or whatever kind of thing. And like I said, it never was that, serious movie. It was always kind of like, I almost want to say almost like a Wes Anderson film kind of feel. Especially you were talking about one scene where Anna's doing stuff and Plummer's character is actually narrating over as she's doing. That totally felt like a Wes Anderson film right there.
So, except Wes Anderson kind of in like the details, but not in the way it's filmed. Like not everything's just dead center. That might not have come through right well on the mic, but not everything is just dead center. The thing that I didn't like about the ending, and this doesn't take away from it. I like the film. I liked the way it ended, but I wish. Let me go into this is how I would do it. The film has so many twists and so many turns and so many things being told. At the very end, I wish that Chris Evans' character had been in on it instead of just being a bad guy. Now, that would have taken away from the prop knife thing, but I really wish, like, the disagreement that he had with Christopher Plummer's character, the patriarch of the family, was, no, you're crazy, that's just nuts, but he does it anyways because that's his grandfather's wish.
I totally agree. I was coming around with the same little bit thinking, especially when Chris Evans makes the comment like, oh, I helped my granddad write some of his mystery films kind of thing, like as almost like a summer intern with him. I did research for some of his his books. And I think that was especially interesting too when Plummer was facing his possible own death, how he was taking notes like, oh, this would be great for a book kind of thing. You almost want to say like, you know what, maybe they did think this through, start off already, and maybe the whole idea was to make a book out of this.
So one of the things that I didn't guess the ending, unfortunately. I tried pretty hard to figure out exactly who'd done it, quote unquote, because I knew that it wasn't really her. I have noted on my pad. I went to the movie at 12:45. Movie starts at 1. About 2:17 is when I wrote it down. Vials switched, and I guessed that it was Christopher Plummer's character that did it. So I'm like, I know that the vials have been switched. But I don't know who, and I don't know why. So I kind of got like half of it pretty early on in the film. But I didn't guess the Chris Evans thing until later, which is unfortunate. But one of the things the way the story was told and the way things happened that was disappointing for me was I went in expecting a murder mystery, kind of like Chris the Aggie murder mystery, where it's more of a cat and mouse game between the detective and the bad guy. More like Sherlock Holmes. And this is not that kind of film. It's not that kind of mystery. It's a mystery, but it is not a murder mystery.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of its charm a little bit too, is that it makes it, kind of a different film.
I thought that probably when I watched it, just watched it through, that they did their here's what happened really early in the film. I'm like, well, that can't be what happened. Because it's way too early in the film to be telling us what actually happened. So you just kind of have to throw that one aside. And then I just started wondering, okay, well, Daniel Craig's character, the detective, is he dumb? Or is he actually smart? Is he good at his job or is he not good at his job?
Well, I always thought that he was good at his job. I think he knew right off too, and he says he does. He knew right off that that Anna played her character, played the big role in Plummer's death kind of thing, and just, was going through to see if there was other stuff at work, on it kind of thing. So yeah, I always kind of watch, the one scene in particular with the muddy path and the footprints and her like, what, I can't hear you, what, she's trying to sabotage she's the main character, and yet you're rooting for her to sabotage the stuff. So you're talking about kind of like that cat and mouse. There is a little bit of that cat and mouse going on between her and him, but it's a little bit different, and this way you're actually kind of rooting for the killer, though she is and not the killer at the same time too. But yeah, like I said, I think, I think I enjoy that a little bit from Johnson. He is turning, what we expect of murder mysteries on its head a little bit with this film.
He's subverting your expectations, Matt.
He is subverting your expectations. So I really think if you go in this movie not overanalyzing or trying to think, you're going to enjoy the movie. If you just take it like, hey, this is a crazy family. They do stuff they don't need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? There's a great scene that sums that up really, really awesome. And it's a little bit filmed out of order, like you mentioned before, or at least it's shown out of order, where the family's having a squabble. And they have a couple of different scenes like that, but this is the one where Don Johnson's character, and oh my God, Don Johnson, he's having that Michael Keaton kind of like late career renaissance, which is great because I love seeing him in things. But he's having an argument with Toni Collette's character about immigration, and I kind of wondered like, okay, that's relevant right now. But when you watch this movie 10 years from now, how relevant will it be? Is it too on the nose for these characters to be talking about it? Or is it just, hey, this takes place in 2019, you know. But I loved the family squabbling. Just the bickering back and forth was really, really well done. Perfectly scripted.
I think that, yeah, I think it, for character development and stuff, it was really good. Like you said, these interactions with the family really tell these, these families' characters, by what they say and the lies they tell and what's actually going on. I mean, you really get to know, each of these characters, who they are.
There is one other thing that I definitely want to speak on. It's not necessarily a spoiler, but this movie keeps on making references rather intentional or not intentional to Inception, where Christopher Plummer's character says, it's my fault that they haven't gone out and done things themselves and built things from the ground up themselves. I want them to build things for themselves. And it happens again and again and again throughout the movie. And I'm like, okay, I put it down on my notes. Like, this is Inception in reverse, basically.
I mean, the whole movie is about a wealthy dad, that thought, the best way to help his family was to, support him. And now it seems, I think he's getting at kind of like the peak. He knows, because it's not like he has some health condition stuff, hence why he has, a personal nurse that has kind of become his, his confidant. But it's kind of him coming at his end saying, like, you know what, I made some mistakes. Instead of financially helping my family through all this, I really should have been, setting them up to succeed on their own. That should have been my legacy.
I would like to say, just before we go, the definitely the very last scene, and it's made better by the fact that he filmed this in a not quite widescreen aspect ratio, so it's a little bit more brought in. I don't know the exact aspect ratio he filmed it in. You have Anna's character up on the balcony of her house with a cup that says "My House, My Rules." She probably doesn't even know she has that cup because it was just given to her after an attempted murder on her life. She's just up there, and it just works so good. And then the camera turns around, and you're looking at the family. And again, it's made better because the family's all boxed in with that kind of odd aspect ratio that he chose to film it in. Everyone's really close, and you can just see everyone looking up at her like, oh, okay, now what do we do next? I loved that. So
I will go back on that cup. That coffee mug has so much significance in that movie. Rian Johnson did a full circle with that coffee mug. This movie opens up setting the scene, showing the house, and I believe the next frame or whatever the movie is the coffee mug, as it's being taken up to Plummer, and it's how he is deaf or whatever is discovered. And I think it tells two things. One, it kind of tells Plummer's character, because it's his mug, so it's representative of him. So it says basically like my house, almost like my rules, my coffee. And then, like you said, too, and then it has that extra meaning at the end when it's her, and, it's her sipping it, and it's like, you know what? If you're questioning whether or not I'm going to keep it, the fortune and the house or whatever, or give it back to this family, here's the mug. It's my house, this is my coffee.
Very, very much so. So, let me just end by saying, yes, absolutely go see this movie. This is great. If you like some of this content that we're putting out, make sure to subscribe and give us a like. That way we can keep on putting out this content. Probably the next thing up that we're going to be doing that you're going to see is Star Wars, not the Rian Johnson version. So look forward to that. I'm Randall in Texas, saying bye.
I'm at Michigan. See you guys.